Yes.
How can we better ourselves? What is amazing, and I think it's intriguing, is I will speak to people that's in Egypt. It's easy to do today. I'll speak to people that's in Egypt. I'll speak to somebody that's in the UK and in England, Ukraine and Russia as well, Africa, Australia, Pakistan, Morocco, just thinking of the people that I've been able to speak to recently. And I ask them, how are things going? How do you think, how's life in Morocco? How's life in these different areas? And everybody seems, for the most part, people are pretty much disappointed. Is the whole world disappointed? Is life just taking a dive? Is the quality of life across the globe just really has everybody disappointed? And what would mess up our life anyway? Everybody would look in the mirror and they would probably see who does it. If everybody in this life was like you, or like me, would people be good? Would people be selfish? If the church, if everybody gave to the church whatever you was able to give or gave, would the church starve, or would the church be thriving and be good? If homeless people on the street got only as much food or help that you gave them, would they be able to survive? I'm just kind of breaking down. If everyone in this world was just like you, would it be a good place? Would you have contributed, or would it be a detriment? Are you a law-abiding citizen or a law-breaking citizen? Are you a godly person? If everybody served God to the extent that you serve God, would we have a godly planet? That's a good one. If everybody was the type of father that you are to your children, would our children grow up healthy and everything be good? Or a mother? If everybody was the type of husband to their wife that you are, would marriages be good? I mean, you could go on and self-identify and analyze and just look at it this way. If everyone was just like you, would life be good? That's just a question for you. So the question would be how you could better yourself. Let's get some good advice. How could we better ourselves? Well, first thing you can do is maybe this morning, look around and ask yourself what right now bothers you. There's some stuff that bothers me, I promise you. Oh, yes. Look around and ask yourself what bothers you. Write down what bothers you and figure out a way to fix it. That's not bad advice. Now, the gospel shows us all throughout the gospel that everything can be fixed. Yeah, everything can be fixed. Even a dead man can be raised from the dead in the scriptures. A lame man can walk. That can be fixed. A blind man can receive his sight. Everything can be fixed. So, I'm not kidding when I said, look around your room. Look around your room. Just your room. And what is it that could be fixed in your room? Yeah. How can I make it better? We're just going to talk a little bit this morning. You got a stack of papers that's on the counter, and well, you could sort those things out, couldn't you? We're just talking about good life's advice so that we could live better and be happier. There's no need for life to be in turmoil. Is life, you have difficulties because of somebody else's turmoil? How can you make it better? So, I mean, look around your room. How can you make your room better? Sort out the stack of papers, the dust on the ceiling fan, maybe. Maybe put some Windex on the mirror. And if you remember my sermon, first of all, for one thing, today, I hope that you made your bed. It's good advice. It's good advice. I look around this studio office of mine, and I assure you that to make it better for me in here, I could do things all day long and not be finished. I got papers here and there. I got my books up there. I got wires all over the place. I got dust behind my computer. Oh yeah, there's a lot that I could definitely fix in this office. So you know what maybe I'll do is maybe I'll just take one thing and I'll, fix this little, look, I'll just fix these bunch of papers right here and at least bring them all together and set them in this corner over here neat. And if I do stuff like that, it'll look okay. Yeah. Anyway, how can we make life better for us? The story of the Bible is, you say, well, how does this apply to the Bible? This is a Bible lesson, even though it seems to be off topic for right now. But what does the whole story of the Bible hinge on? And that's what I want us to get to today. It's fixing the biggest thing about you. And what that would be, fixing the biggest thing about you. Good advice. There's a scripture, and I'm going to read out of Psalms chapter 51, and then Ephesians chapter 5, and then Proverbs 15, and Joshua chapter 1, then Matthew chapter 18. I'll run those by you again. I'm going to read out of Psalms chapter 51, verse 10, Ephesians 5, 25. I'm going to read 25 through 33, actually. I'm going to read Proverbs 15, 1. I'm going to read Joshua 1, 9. And I'm going to read Matthew 18, 21 through 35. But the next ones is Psalms 51, 10 and Ephesians 5, 25. There's a scripture about fixing everything. Somebody said one time, where do you get your life's advice? Speaking to a college student. And they said, where do you get your life's advice from? I said, where do you get your smarts? Because you come across as an educator. Where do you get your smarts? I said, I can tell you where I get my I have a resource that I go to, but it's not going to impress you where I get my thoughts from. Well, where do you get your thoughts from? It's not going to impress you. I'm telling you, it's not going to impress you. Well, where do you get your thoughts from? The Bible. And they said, oh, the Bible? Oh. I said, I told you it wasn't going to impress you, because you don't seem to think that the Bible has scriptures that can fix everything. I'm going to prove it to you, okay? I'm going to prove some of it to you. When it comes to fixing your heart's condition in Psalms chapter 51, verse 10, this is just good advice. He tells God, he says, create in me a clean heart, God, and renew a right spirit within me. You can create in me a clean heart. Ask George Palmer about that. God can create in you a clean heart. Yeah. Take you from a feared gangster and mob leader to the most wonderful, wonderful individual that you ever wanted to meet. Meek and mild. Went from strong and boisterous and evil to meek and mild. So Psalms chapter 51 verse 10 tells you how you can fix your heart. What about your marriage? What about if I'm having problems with my marriage? Well, in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 through 33. Then we're going to read out of Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1. Then Joshua 1:9. Ephesians 5, 25 through 33 says this about marriage. Just good advice. He says, husbands, love your wives. How much? As Christ loved the church and he gave himself up for her. That's how much you should love your wife. As much as as Christ loved the church. Good advice. Down to verse 26, he says, that he might sanctify her, which makes her better, closer to God, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle. Wow, I just realized something. Or any such. I just realized something. God just revealed something to me. Remember I told you that I had a dream when I was a child? I kept having these visions when I was a child. I was a weird kid. No, I was very, very young. And these individuals in the spirit would come in my room. And I always had to take the sheet and I would pull it so there was no wrinkles in it. And that was symbolic of something, but I had no idea what. I had no idea what. And I'm just reading right here, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle. So when they came into the room, these angels, they would be around about the room and they were talking and they were busy, and then they would leave. And I remember that when I felt them coming, I would, for some reason, no explanation, I'd pull the sheets, and I couldn't have any wrinkles in the sheets. And I guess I was trying to present myself without wrinkle. I don't know. I'm just reading this, and I'm thinking, maybe. Sometimes God will give you a dream or a vision, and you don't know the answer to it until many years later. Just read that, just light bulb went off. So, and your marriage, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 through 33, your marriage. Temper, Proverbs 15:1. What about your temper? Can God fix your temper? Well, in Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1, then I'm going to read Joshua 1:9. Proverbs 15:1, then Joshua 1:9. Then I'm going to read Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 through 35. Proverbs 15:1. Can God fix my temper? Well, it says a soft answer turns away wrath. Who would have thought of that? But a harsh word stirs up anger. Well, that makes an awful lot of sense. We go in Proverbs, it says it right here. Your temper. Speak softly. Learn to speak softly. Quit raising your voice. Suppose I'm anxious about things. What about anxiety? Is there anything in God's word about anxiety? I mean, what kind of a book is the Bible? Will it talk about anxiety? Well, Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. I found something. There's many scriptures, but he says, have I not commanded you? Commanded us is a big word. To be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. And do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. There you go. What about unforgiveness? Could God fix unforgiveness? Could he help me with that? Is there something in there about forgiveness that could help me? Because some people just really get you mad. And this is just life's good advice that the Bible has given us. Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 through 35. What's it say? Matthew 18, 21 through 35. It says, then Peter came up and he said to him, Lord, how many times will my brother sin against me and I have to forgive him? I mean, he never ever wants to change. And Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times. Because he used the number 7 a lot, okay? But 77 times. And I don't even think he meant just 77 and that's it. He just being, he's just saying, okay, 70 times 7. You forgive them. It's a good thing it's not really 77 times. That's just an expression. Like, in other words, you keep forgiving someone that has an apologetic heart. Why? Because if Jesus only forgave me 77 times, I'd already be in trouble. Yes. They had a husband that, as I was in counseling with somebody, and he had done wrong to his wife. And she says, I can't handle this, and I won't handle this anymore. I thought you loved me enough that you would not disrespect our marriage the way I learned that you have. And so I instructed him and her. I said, well, here's a thought. This could be an opportunity for you to have the love of your life that you could have never gotten otherwise, not condoning this heartache that has come upon your family. Not condoning that whatsoever. And God says that you, in all good rights, can really challenge this, and it's like, wait a minute, this marriage is not really a marriage. Not upon that. I said, well, if he was to, she said, I don't like what he is, but if he changed, if you forgave him of this horrible thing of how he broke your heart, and he did. And you forgave him up for that, and the family stayed together. Do you think that he would have to love you more? Because you have forgiven him of something grave. You just maybe God can help you. You just may have a man now that loves you more than he could have ever loved you before, given the circumstance. So maybe, and so she tried that. And many, many years later, they have their children have grown up. They had a lovely family, a lovely marriage. But there was a time then that she could have chosen to trash that marriage. And she had the right to as well. But he came to her saying, I would, if you would just forgive me, you will have the man you want, if you can. Peter says, how many times should you forgive your brother? If your brother comes to you and your brother is honestly asking forgiveness and is changed, he falls again and he comes to you changed. How many times do you, as you live for Christ, you will fall and you come back changed? I'm changed, God. And then you might fall again in a different area, and God forgives you. So that's what he was talking about. How many times should I forgive my brother when he keeps falling? If he's asking for forgiveness with no intent to harm you again with a sin, well, then you keep forgiving him, just as God does. So yeah, unforgiveness. You got somebody in your life that just seems like never wants to change. Oh my gosh. But now it's a difference than somebody that is not going to change and doesn't want to change and is using and abusing your kindness. Not what I'm talking about. So anyway, good advice, just good advice. Let me move on here. Just good advice to talk about today. Fix the things that you repeat every day. Just something for you to think about. Fix the things that you repeat every day in your life. The most important things is because you do them every day. I told you about and hey, you know what? Those papers aren't scattered on my desk right now. They're nice and neat. Now I've got a lot of other things to fix in this room. Look at this, man. I got a book right here that should be up, but the book's up. I'm gonna put it up there, okay? And I've got about 10 other items that can be. I'm gonna fix this office up today. One little thing at a time. And I'm gonna fix some other things. But just good advice to fix what you can fix. Don't try to fix what you can't fix because you get discouraged and it'll stay broken. I'm not going to go work on my car because I can't fix my car, my truck. The most important things, you can fix your language. What about your language? Some of you struggle about your language. You tell me, hey, man, I'm a pastor, I struggle with my language. Work at fixing that. I've never smoked, so you can fix your smoking habit if you smoke 100 cigarettes a day. Smoke 99 and a half. Yeah, 99 and a half. And then the next day, smoke 99 and a quarter. Yeah. Well, that's kind of stupid. You think it's stupid? But pretty soon, guess what? You won't be smoking. You fix your temper. Fix your marriage. A lot of things that you could work on fixing. We're supposed to become closer to God every day. And you think about your relationship with your children, with your kids, with your family. But let's stay to marriage. There's a portion in the Bible where God refers to the church as they lost their first love. They don't love me like they used to, God said. They lost their first love. So with your marriage, if you kissed your wife a lot, do you kiss her less now? Should be kissing her more. If you hugged your wife a lot, you'd hug her more. You told her she was beautiful when you first met her, you should be telling her she's beautiful more, right? How you fix marriages? Should you be getting closer to your spouse or further away? Should you talk more than what you used to talk, or do you talk less now? Does she intrigue you more now or intrigue you less? What you love, just good advice, just good advice, okay? What you love, you should try and get closer to. Just good advice. Oh, when Mrs. C comes in the door, I'm going to kiss her a lot this evening, man. Yes, indeed, yes. She's going to say, I was listening to that sermon. I'll tell you something that, and I would encourage you. Marissa Peers, she's a psychologist. She has a great video out on the power of your mind. It's worth listening to. She talks about the power of your brain and your mind. And I've read some other accounts and books and listened to some teachings on the same thing. The power of your mind. Here's some good advice to you. You don't realize this about your mind. I'm going to tell you what it's supposed to do. You know, your husband might not listen to you. Your wife might not listen to you. Might not listen to you. Your dogs, if they're not trained, they're not going to listen. People don't listen to you. But I'm going to tell you who does listen to you. And I mean every single word you say, they listen to you, and you are its master. And that is your mind. It's your brain. It's the only thing that absolutely does what you tell it to do. This is a very good teaching right here now. It's good advice. You can make yourself feel happy or make yourself feel sad. You can do it. Just figure out what you want to think about, and you will get happy or you will get sad. You think I'm kidding? Think about that argument that you had with somebody that really just boiled your blood. Sit down. It's not a healthy thing to do. But sit down right now and go through that conversation again. If I call you, you'll answer the phone. You say, hello. Well, what's up with you? Oh, nothing. No, because you brought that back into your brain, and your brain's trying to protect you from that again. Think about something wonderful and lovely, and you are the master of your mind. It's the only thing that absolutely does what you tell it to do. That's your brain's job. It's your brain's job, and the job of your mind, your brain, is to keep you alive, keep harm from you, and keep you from harm, keep you from doing things that you don't want to do. If I tell you in your mind, if you tell your mind, you do not like going to work on Monday, and as a child you tell yourself, I don't want to go to school on Monday because of this test. I know I'm going to fail this test. So you tell your brain, I don't want to go to work on Monday. And the child tells his brain, I don't want to go to school on Monday. Come Monday, your brain heard that. And your brain says, we got to do something about that. He does not want to go to work Monday. He does not. There's something, they're going to make him do something at work. Who knows? He doesn't want to go to work Monday. He doesn't want to go to school on Monday, the child. We got to do something. We got to protect him from school. We got to protect him or her from work. So what does your brain do? Come Monday, your stomach will begin to become nauseated and sick. That's sick stomach. Your brain says, there we go. Got it happening now for you, brother. You're sick. It's your mind protecting you from something that you told it that you did not want to do. Be very careful what you tell your mind. Be careful what you tell your brain. You tell your brain you dislike some things about God, your brain's going to try and keep you away from God. Tell your brain that you love the Lord and rejoice today. It's the day that the Lord hath made. Your brain's going to say, oh, he likes God. Yeah. In Romans, I should have gave you the reference earlier, but in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Good advice, okay? Romans chapter 12, verse 2. I'll give you a moment to turn to that, okay? Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Romans 12:2. Good advice. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. I mentioned this to you earlier, but it's worth mentioning again. There's a psychological experiment that psychologists do. And they will have a group of basketball players or anybody in the room, and they will show some kids passing the basketball around, and it's passing fast. And they say, I want you to see if we can get the number correct, okay? There's 15 of us in this room, let's, without communicating amongst each other, I want you to count how many times that basketball was passed. And it's going to be passing fast. I mean, whether it's 30 times, 40 times, or 100 times, I want you to get the number correct. So they pass the ball. It's 1, 2, 3, passing the ball. And they're doing this 30 times, 31, 32, 33. What you got? Okay, they're all writing down. They're paying attention to that. And somebody just walks real fast across the screen in a gorilla suit. It's not very inconsequential thing. Is somebody just in the background walked past and they had a gorilla suit on. Just walk past the screen, that's all. Passing the ball, and stops. And it says, how many times was the ball passed around? 63 times. What you got? 63. Oh, I got 64. I must have missed one. 63 times. Is that correct? I really could care less with I just want to know is, how tall was that gorilla, y'all think? And they said, what gorilla? How tall was the gorilla? No, they passed the basketball 63 times. No. How tall was the gorilla? What gorilla? You will, if you focus on one thing in life, and you will not notice many other things that take place because you're focused on that one thing. And you know what, spiritually speaking, I think that we miss out on the voice of God by doing the same thing. We're focusing on all the things in life that aggravate us, that's in turmoil, that make us mad, that make us sad. And God says, I told you something this morning. You said, I didn't hear you say a thing. So be careful what you aim at, because that will determine what part of your world you will see and experience. So aiming for godliness will pass you through the scenic route, and aiming at ungodliness will take you through the slum part of the city. If your view of the world is manifesting itself in a negative way, then you might be aiming at the wrong thing. A happy life, a fulfilled life, is aiming at God, aiming at a good spouse to serve God with, aiming at a good career path to support your life, and being a giver rather than a taker. Aim at those things. You know what I always say? Tell Jesus, there's a reason I say this. Tell Jesus you love him, and make a friend today. Make that your aim. I do that every day. Been doing it for years now. It's just a statement that came across my brain. And I figured that was the best thing I could tell people every day to do. I would play music in a pub, and at the end of it, I'd say, hey, everybody, tell Jesus you love him and make a friend today. And I would finish my little comedy hour sometimes in my cutting up, and I would say, oh, by the way, tell Jesus you love him and make a friend today. And you know what? I got to thinking, that's some pretty good advice. Yeah. Now, you can also aim correctly, and it doesn't ensure happiness, but I'll tell you what, people get cut off at the knees, and unfortunate things do happen to the wise, but most often to the unwise. So don't be saying, well, I know someone that's as good as gold and they got a sick child. You can be as good as gold, and bad things can happen to you. But most often, bad things are going to happen to you if you don't do wise things. More people have become lame from driving reckless than those that have become lame from an unfortunate accident that wasn't their fault. So, good advice about life. Start asking yourself these things, okay? What could be your biggest catastrophe about life if it happened to you? What could be the biggest thing that you would dread if it happened to you? Good thing I'm not trying to get you in a bad mood, but think. Well, dying and going to hell, would that not be the number one thing? Dying and going to hell could be at the top of that list. So fix that problem today. What could become your greatest regret later on in life? This one has potential. Not raising your family right is the biggest one, I assure you. Men in prison will tell you about that one. Old men that no longer hear from their children because they did not impact them enough. That would be a regret. Good advice is pay attention to your family while you can and while they're here. Love your wife as you should love her, so you can have years of love to laugh about and not years of regret to cry about. Here's a big one. You became to a relationship with God. You see the light and your family won't do it. They don't want to turn to God. You are heaven bound and they are not on the bus. Good advice would be to raise your children right. On Sunday, they need to be in a church. During the breakfast table, lunch table, and evening table, and they should sit down at the table and have lunch together. I'm going to tell you what I would do if I was raising my family again. I assure you that we would all sit at a table in the evening at a certain time. We would eat and we would talk. The way things used to be. And they worked. So what does it take to do something great in your life? Let me just bring this to your attention. I told y'all I wasn't going to get on y'all. I just want to give y'all some advice. And I'll take some myself. Whatever you do in life, that if you want to be great in life, it's going to take sacrifice. Greatness is not achieved by winning a lottery ticket. You don't become great because you just had the right winning ticket and it says, okay, guess what? You won. What does it say? It says you are great. And that don't happen that way. Figure out what you conceive would be great in your life. Now, if the sacrifice to earn that greatness is a small task, then you'll never become great or do any great thing. If you dream a dream. You have a goal in life if you have a dream. And if that dream and that goal doesn't keep you awake at nights, dreaming and scheming about it, it's not a big enough dream. Get yourself a bigger dream. To be a hero, you need to fight a war. To enjoy a family, you need to have children and all the money and life devotion that tags along with that. The ultimate achievement is to die and go into the kingdom of God. That's the ultimate best advice that I could give you. And that's the biggest sacrifice and the most worthiest goal of all. To die, when you die, to go to heaven. And to take some people there with you. Yeah. So anyway, this morning I just wanted to give you some good advice, that's all. And so what did I gain from this, perhaps? Well, Charles, fix one thing at a time, won't you? Fix one thing at a time. Get closer to God. Get closer to my wife, my children. What if they haven't been calling? Well, call them. Call them. About a friend that you've lost contact with and maybe could fix things. Sorry if you're sitting there in regret and you've done some wrong things and you need to repair a relationship. Fix it, man. That's why God created phones, to call people and fix things. Fix it, man. Fix it. Fix it. Maybe you might want to write something down right here. You might want to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to fix some things one at a time. I got them papers all in order right here. I say, you go. I only got about 60 other things to do in this office, and we will be just great. All right, we're going to go to God in prayer. Thank you. Thank you for paying attention to the ministry road and stopping in and pulling alongside. Charles Miller, they call me Pastor C. And this morning, This was sermon number 1002. Tell Jesus that you love him and make a friend today. And that'll fix a whole bunch of things. And that, my friend, is life's good advice. God bless you.
Yeah,